we stay in Africa for this one and go to
Let's.
something which is really, really important, which is the
Yes.
malaria vaccine.
I was going to say yes.
Mm. Do
Yeah.
you know what? This is the one which last time I was on your podcast, I did actually mention.
I remember this. I remember
Yeah.
this. Yes.
Right. And it's got even better since then. So I think in the last time I spoke to you about the malaria vaccine, it was the first time that there was about to be a rollout of an actual malaria vaccine, not just for studies, but actually being given to mass numbers of people in Africa.
Right.
And last year, the one which was being given out was only about 30% effective or something like that, which is better than nothing, but it's not very high. And now, this year, there's a second malaria vaccine called R21, and that is 75% effective against preventing malaria itself.
75% effective against preventing.
Yeah, preventing somebody from getting the disease in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is a real game changer. Like, this could be absolutely massive. So just to give some numbers to people, at the moment, about 600,000 people a year die from malaria, and
Right.
millions have other big problems from it.
Yeah.
So 600,000 is already much less than it was 20 years ago or 50 years ago, but it's been 600,000 for a while, and with this vaccine, which has already been given out in Côte d'Ivoire. I'm not sure how many have already been given out, but they've started giving it out properly, this R21 vaccine in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. They are hoping that once this is fully rolled out, this R21 vaccine, it will go down from 600,000 deaths a year to only 200,000 deaths a year within this decade. So by 2030, so that's within 6 years. That's absolutely massive. And some of the scientists which are behind it are saying that they would like to completely eradicate malaria by the following decade, by 2040, which is
wow.
Hang
on, so
amazing.
we'd be saving as many lives as there are elephants in Africa.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Just in Ivory Coast.
Yes. Yeah. Every year. No. Sorry, not just in
Within the
Ivory
decade.
Coast. No.
Oh, okay.
In total. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, like, if it goes down from 600,000 to 200,000
Yeah.
per year
Yeah.
by 2030, then that would be saving 400,000 lives per year, right? Which
Per
is the
year.
same number.
Okay.
It's the same as the number of elephants in Africa. That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay. Yeah, that would, from what I said, that would mean that Ivory Coast had 90% population with malaria or something.
Yeah. No. The population isn't so big, but it's been given out. It started to be given out to babies in the Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, and also in South Sudan, and Ghana has approved it, so they'll probably be giving it out soon as well. And
Right.
And the Serum Institute of India, which is one of these massive factories, is producing millions and millions of doses of this vaccine.
Right.
So it really is possible that malaria will be eradicated or almost eradicated within the next 15, 20 years or something. And this is a problem which is just through the whole of the 21st throughout the whole of the 20th century, this was just killing millions and millions and millions of people all the time. So to eradicate malaria would be an incredibly significant event.
Wow. So it's the mosquitoes that share it. So I wonder what that means for the mosquitoes. Like, if they're not giving it to us,
Yeah.
do they? But they would continue to have it, right? Do they die from malaria? Do mosquitoes?
I don't think so. Do you know what? I remember looking this up about a year ago. I think that they don't suffer from malaria. They just pass it.
Pass it on.
I believe, yeah.
Oh,
And the way that this vaccine works is by stopping the parasite of malaria from developing in humans.
In humans, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And can animals get malaria, do you think?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I'm going to avoid Googling that, which I always have that temptation to do when talking to you.
No, that's so that's incredible. That really is. So the first one that you said, the first malaria drug, are they being bumped off the shelves now?
I'm not sure, actually, because they gave out quite a few doses, maybe a few million doses of that between last year and this year. I think it's still going. I think it's still being produced. Of course, having a 75% vaccine is much better than having a 30% effective vaccine.
Yeah.
But if there's not enough of the new one to go around, then it's probably still worth people taking the old one. And people are always being told to take other measures against malaria anyway. So just, number one, just to try to avoid being bitten by mosquitoes.
Yes.
So by having the bed nets and there's some other drugs as well which people can take to avoid the problems.
Yes. And for a tourist going to a malaria, is it right to say malaria-ridden region or malaria zone? The same pills would be still the same medication that you would take, I guess.
I haven't heard of tourists or foreigners being offered a malaria vaccine. I would.
It seems quite extreme, I guess, if you're
it does
for a short period of time.
Yeah, I remember taking Lariam when I went somewhere. I think it was in Asia that I was given that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It was a very funny drug. Yeah.
It was very funny for you.
Yeah, it's a really weird drug to take because it gives you really vivid dreams.
Yes.
So I remember having the first couple of weeks that I was taking Lariam, that whenever I was falling asleep, I would have these really vivid dreams, sometimes related to the situations I was in. I remember being on a bus once where I was dozing off and feeling, and all of there was people walking around on the bus and things like that, and it just wasn't real. And that was I was just imagining it.
Or an augmented dream.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But anyway, I think people will probably still be taking drugs Lariam at the moment.
I still blame it on that drug that I blacked out on a plane. I was flying from London to Africa to I think Uganda, Kampala, that was the city, and on the flight I blacked out on the way to the toilet.
Wow.
And I woke up with a cut on my nose because I just face planted the floor.
Wow.
And I was going with a stranger at the time who ended up being my girlfriend after a month or so. So I was obviously aware that the person that I was with, I was wanting to impress in some way. And I woke up to 4 air stewards wafting flannel in my face, saying, Mister, are you okay? Are you okay, sir?
Wow.
And they were like, is he with anybody? And they're like, yeah, I think he's with that girl. So we'll go get her. And I was like, no, don't get her. And she was like, Charlie, what are you doing on the floor in the kitchen of the canteen bit of the aircraft?
Gosh, wow. Just in case anybody's heard both of our stories there about Lariam, it's still important to take drugs. Still important to take drugs to stop the effects of malaria. Malaria is much worse. So.
Malaria much worse. And maybe take a cricket helmet or something on your flight. And then what could you do to prevent weird dreams? Just don't sleep. Don't sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is malaria vaccine. That's amazing news.